the church smelled like lemon oil and old paper. I had come early because early felt safer. No surprises, no people lingering too long in the aisles. 1 year since the funeral, and I was still arranging my days around predictable edges. Sit, stand, kneel, breathe. My phone vibrated in my coat pocket during the first hymn. I let it buzz once, twice, the way you let a thought pass when you don't want it to stay. The third time I stepped into the vestibule and answered. "Ma'am," the contractor said. He used my last name like it might crack if he held it too tightly. "I need you to come see what we found. But don't come alone. Bring your 2 sons." The words rearranged the air. Now, urgent, don't come alone. I stared at the framed parish announcements while he explained he'd wait, that they'd stopped work, that it was better if. The rest fell away. I thanked him because that's what you do when your heart is trying to escape your ribs. I went back inside long enough to gather my coat in the quiet. In the car, I sat for a full minute with my hands on the wheel, thinking about how renovations were supposed to be simple. Paint, wiring. A clean room turned into a guest room so the house would stop orbiting his absence. I had told myself I was being practical. My sons were home, half-dressed for the day. They didn't ask why church ended early. They recognized my voice when I said we had to go. On the drive, they watched the road like passengers on a ferry present, but not steering. The office had been sealed since the hospital called. I dusted the hallway, watered the plant that never died, but that door stayed closed. When we arrived, the house was full of other people's tools, their careful mess. Plastic sheeting made the rooms whisper. The contractor met us in the doorway of the office. He didn't step aside right away. He looked at my sons, then at me, and nodded once, as if checking something off an internal list. "We were removing the built-in," he said, keeping his hands visible. There was a cabinet behind it, locked. I didn't remember a cabinet. Or maybe I did and had trained myself not to. Inside, the room was smaller than I remembered, stripped down to studs in places. Sunlight found the dust. On the floor, a metal cabinet lay open, its lock bent. Inside were folders, ordinary, the color of oatmeal and rain, paper that didn't announce itself. No one told us to read. My older son picked up a folder like he was lifting something warm. My younger son leaned against the doorframe, scanning without touching. I stood between them, close enough to be mistaken for protection. Dates leapt out first, then amounts, then names. Not the ones I expected, not ours. I felt a dull, professional clarity take over the part of me that had once kept a calendar and made deadlines feel merciful. This wasn't a crime scene, it was a ledger. One folder had a trust document with a draft stapled behind it. The draft named my sons. The final did not. There were signatures I knew well and one I didn't. The absence did its own talking. I waited for the collapse I'd been warned about by people who meant well. It didn't come. Instead, there was a narrowing, a focus. Grief slid sideways and made room for attention. The contractor cleared his throat. "When we find unfiled financial instruments during a renovation," he said, reciting, "we're required to pause work and notify the county. They'll send someone." As if summoned by the word county, a woman stepped into the doorway, badge visible, voice unhurried. She explained the process without apology. Review. Temporary freeze. Corrections where applicable. She spoke to me, but she looked at my sons too, like witnesses who mattered. This was the moment I realized, when control shifted not dramatically, not with a bang. The past lost its private advantage. Whatever story I'd been telling myself no longer had exclusive rights. My older son asked one question: did he mean to change it back? The official didn't answer for me. I did. "I don't know." My younger son asked another: "What happens now?" "Now," I said, feeling steadier than I deserved, "we let it be looked at." The renovation stopped. The cabinet went into evidence with a sticker that made it official. The office door stayed open as people packed up, as if secrecy had been a habit rather than a law. That night, we ate quietly. No one reached for comfort food. No one apologized for him. Love remained where it had always been, threaded through with omission. I wrote an email to the lawyer and didn't soften it. I answered my son's questions with what I could verify. When I couldn't, I said so. Weeks passed with letters and timelines. The trust was corrected. Not everything was restored. Some choices could not be undone. But the floor stopped shifting. The house learned a new balance. On the day work resumed, I stood in the office doorway and watched light settle where the cabinet had been. The room didn't forgive him. It didn't condemn him either. It simply existed, changed by being seen. Later, when the church bell rang down the street late, off schedule, I felt the familiar ache and let it stay. Healing, I understood, wasn't the erasure of what hurt. It was the courage to open a door and invite others in, even when you weren't sure what they'd find. We left the house together that afternoon, not triumphant, not undone, just willing to carry what had been uncovered, and to live with the knowledge that sometimes the truth waits patiently behind good intentions until someone finally removes the wall.